1,428 cases of murder were registered in KwaZulu-Natal between July to September 2024, according to the official crime statistics. In a bid to bolster the fight against crime, Premier Thami Ntuli donated 36 vehicles to provincial police commissioners the provincial police commissioner and aimed at enhancing police mobility and response time. Let's now delve deeper into the crime statistics and discuss the province's plans to tackle the growing challenge with the Premier. Premier Thami Ntuli joining us this morning. Premier, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. So there have been some headwinds that have been made and at least some improvements when it comes to the stats, especially when we look at the murder rate. What would you attribute these to?
Well, thank you very much, Adrian. Good morning to yourself and to the viewers at home. I think the work between the police and the community may be a result of an improvement that we see wherein the awarenesses to the community has been enhanced, and the level of reporting to the police has improved, and the work that the police are doing, including the crime fighters, may be as a result causing some improvement in certain areas of crime, though there are those crimes that have actually increased, which is an indication that we still have a challenge as a province.
Yeah, and one of those challenges that still persists is that even though we see a decrease in the murder rate, the multiple murders, that's a major issue. 71 cases that have been reported, which in total accounts for 164 bodies.
Yes, exactly, Adrian. I think the problem, the tolerance within the families, and this thing of believing that there is witchcraft amongst the family is also one of the reasons that is causing these multi-murders that we see in the province, of which the dialogue which were advancing and the awareness which were advancing, trying to forge tolerance and social cohesion is what we believe at a long run will help us, in fact, to see a turnaround regarding the behavior where in families they will quarrel, or where in families they will go to a sangoma, and then after that they will kill one another.
Are those the cases that you have been dealing with in the province? Because when it comes to the mass murders and multiple murders, the focus tends to be more on the political killings that have been taking place, and sometimes the battles amongst gang members themselves, and not necessarily intra-family relations. And you say that one of the reasons is because of allegations of witchcraft.
Exactly. You see, I can quote 3 cases at KwaZulu-Natal, where 7 family members were killed, including a 5-year-old boy. When you follow, you'll understand that there are some elements of believing that someone is doing wrong, has done something wrong to another branch of the family. You go to actually Lonscope, 5 people were killed. Well, there I know that it was an issue of vigilantism, wherein people were trying to protect the stock theft, became the victims. But when you go to a recent case in Hammersdale, the one who shot 4 members of the family, the women, was saying is believing that they are using some witchcraft to destroy him. There are typical cases in the province of KwaZulu-Natal wherein there is a belief that someone has done something wrong to someone not to be successful, then they decide to kill one another, of which we believe that for those cases, in fact, I do not believe that they have genuine sangomas who are able to tell the truth about the reasons for others' situation. Then there is that responsibility that we uphold now as government to ensure that we create a dialogue amongst such causes.
Yeah. One of the other cases that have seen a decrease is the total sexual offences cases, which have decreased by 52 cases. But the point that you stressed during that press briefing yesterday is that unfortunately, in some cases where there are gender-based violence cases being opened against the perpetrators, is that the victims would then drop the cases with the intention of receiving financial gain out of that.
That is worrying us as government, Adrian, and we are calling upon the people that they mustn't do that. Women mustn't do that, to drop cases in exchange of money, because that is in fact encouraging GBV. Whereas people who are perpetrators, they really must face the might of the law, so that it will send a lesson to everyone who's still planning or who will decide to perpetrate a GBV, that when you do it, you will be arrested. So we're worried about those who drop cases because they want to be given money, and we're calling upon the people not to do that, and even the police to consider whether within the ambit of the law they can refuse to drop those cases. Rather, they go straight, they proceed to the court, and the court then will decide on the cases instead of doing that.
Yeah, so that could be one of the options that the government looks at. I don't know, Premier, if you've seen this particular story also related to gender-based violence. A man by the name of Spaza Lawrence on Facebook posting a picture and a video after having killed his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend in this particular case. I don't know, has Premier been enlightened around this story? Somebody from Scottburg, his name is Spaza Lawrence.
I've just heard it when I was about to join this interview. The communications officer informed me of the story, and it's a sad story, because really we have been saying either to a man or to a woman, when they're in a relationship, whenever they find themselves, in fact, having an argument, there is no reason for them to kill one another. It's either when they are unable to reconcile, you must leave someone and then continue with your life, instead of taking the life of another person, or instead of affecting your life. Because when you do so, you must know that even for yourself, things won't be normal going forward. So we are encouraging people who are in a relationship that this should not be the case. And we're sending our condolences to the families that have been affected. And it's a sad story, which I think also on that one, we are saying in when we're concluding 16 days of gender-based violence, we have said in each and every working place there should be Spaza Madoda, wherein there will be a dialogue about these cases of gender-based violence, and even to respond. When you are in a relationship, you see that things are not going according to your expectations. I think that might help us, in fact, to mitigate the cases which are GBV related.
Yeah. And from the information that was shared with you, Premier, did your communications officer indicate to you whether Spaza has been arrested, and maybe what happened to the child that was seen in the video?
No, in fact, they were still investigating, because they've just seen it from the social media. And then they were still trying to gather information, because I requested that they must get more information around the incident.
Yeah. Also happening in the province, unfortunately, is this issue around inclement weather and the impact that the inclement weather is having, and the warnings that have been sent out by the Weather Service yesterday as well as today. I know that the MEC for Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Thulasizwe Buthelezi, has also called on municipalities to heed that particular warning. But do you know whether plans are in place that if any eventuality leads to more infrastructure being damaged and people needing to be evacuated, if those plans are in place?
As government, we are always ready to attend to any impacts of the change of the weather, especially when alerts have been given. We activate the municipalities and even our disaster center that for any eventuality we'll be able to respond. But what is more important is for the people to take the warning seriously. For those who have built in flooded areas to not sleep, especially because even when it's going to take place, the rain until at night, not to sleep in those houses because they will not know what will happen at night. We always warn, in fact, of the behavior whenever there are weather alerts, and even to the traditional leaders. We have spoken to them about this climate change and its effects, and what do we need to do as the people so that we ensure that our people are safe in the province.
Yeah. Final one, Premier, yesterday was the deadline for tuck shops to register. You did speak a bit on it during your press briefing yesterday. Are you able to tell us how many applications the municipalities have received so far? And what happens after today? Because some people haven't met the deadline. They're asking for an extension. The province hasn't spoken about an extension as yet. But what happens after today if you did not make that application?
Well, that will mean we are no longer compliant. And we will wait for national government as the date. Well, you remember that it was pronounced by the President of the Republic. We'll then wait and hear on the instruction going forward. However, I must inform you that our mayors have been working very hard in order to try and assist the people who are actually applying for the permits or licenses for these Spaza shops. There are a number of people who have, though I may not have the total, because numbers are still feeding up, but there are a number of them, thousands and thousands of applications have been received. Like it varies with different municipalities. Just to give an example, in Dumbe, you'll find 295, and then in other places you'll find 100. So the numbers are still adding up, the COGTA is still collecting the information so that we'll know how many, and even to know how many failed to reach the deadline, so that even ourselves as the provincial government will see whether submitting that information will not enable a decision to afford them another opportunity for those who couldn't be assisted during this period.
Yeah, so unlike the Western Cape, where we see the city of Cape Town having extended its own deadline, are you saying that that's not something that the province or the municipalities in the province would be pursuing?
Well, because it was a national decision, I think there will be first an engagement with the national government. When then they afford that extension, then we'll be able then, as the province of KwaZulu-Natal, to also afford our people an opportunity to do so. However, we're worried because you see, this problem is quite very big. It's not what you can think it is, because one is on the ground. I've been part of some of the operations which are called Premier's program. And more than 90% of the shops or Spaza shops that we have visited, unfortunately owned by the foreign nationals, they are not compliant in terms of the expired food, and even some of the meat really rotten, something being green, but still in the refrigerator, sold to the people. And most of those owners, you'll find that they all do not have papers of being here in our province or in our country. I think we have a huge problem. One, the issue of non-compliance. Number two, the issue of the undocumented foreign nationals. It's a big problem, really, which I think one day there will be an opportunity to talk about this one, because if we can quantify the numbers, you'll understand the challenge and the importance of assisting those who are really here legally. Helping them to ensure that they are afforded the right opportunities.
Okay, let's then set aside time then, Premier, to solely focus on that particular aspect when it comes to undocumented foreign nationals and the impact that it is having on society, the nation at large, but also in the province. Thank you so much for your time.